Brathwaite is from Guyana and taught here at the University of Guyana for 10 years in the Department of Geography. He has also lived for a very long time in Brazil, where he's done a number of different things, including consultancy and teaching of English as a second language. He recently returned to Guyana and is now living permanently back in Guyana and teaching again in the Department of Geography here at UG. And his paper is called Black Entrepreneurship in Georgetown, Lessons from African Ancestors That Seem to Be Forgotten. So please welcome Mr. Brathwaite.
Good afternoon, everybody. As Diana said, this is a history environment here, mostly. However, I am always called a geographer, especially by the previous chairman, Mr. Alexander Brathwaite. He always called me the geographer. So today my topic is Black Entrepreneurship in Georgetown. So I begin with the question. Who are Black entrepreneurs? What do they do? Are they rich? Questions abound about who or what is an entrepreneur. But the main question is, are they successful? How long do they manage to survive? Do they have thriving businesses? How many are surviving after the first year operation? Do they have any specific issues? These are some of the issues that I'm going to focus on in this paper, because most of you would have gotten this, the who's who in Georgetown, even though it's dated 2020, and there are a number of prominent Black entrepreneurs. However, my paper will focus on people more or less of the lower tier of entrepreneurship, because they are by far in the majority and they have some of the issues which are more generalized for the group. So I would like to say that Black entrepreneurs are at present mushrooming all over Georgetown, not only in the central business district, which we're going to focus on a lot today, but spread out all over the corners of Georgetown and the southernmost neighborhoods as well. I just want to point out something that came out in GIHR News, which is a local newspaper of note. And on the 8th of this month, June 2023, there was this headline: Edison Jefford appointed Executive Director of GCCI, the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Okay. Right? For the next 4 years, up to 2027. Right? Now this is a significant bit of news, because Edison Jefford he started as a simple sports entrepreneur, and now he has risen to executive director of the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So he has managed to rise within entrepreneurship in Georgetown, and today he is at the top of the formal business community sector as the executive director of the leading organization. Right? Another important notice before we move on, could we just go right back? I said let's move on from the first one. The next notice is the Black Entrepreneurship Association. Was established in 2020, the same year that this came out. This document, which most of you will have as conference participants. And Black Entrepreneurship Association was established in 2020. And to give just financial support to the Black business community. And in the recent publication in 2022, they announced that they had 300 members. And each member has to be an owner of a business. Right? So these 2 points are just to emphasize the growth, the emergence of this area of business which is called the Black entrepreneurs, which I'm going to go into in defining and showing more details on. Okay? So, the economy, the question is, what's the reason behind this sudden mushrooming of Black businesses, Black enterprises? I call them enterprises because they're very small, a large majority of them. Well, there are several reasons. Number one, the economy, the political situation, the external forces such as COVID-19 and the Ukraine war, or regular global swings in the economy, or globalization, which was the byword just a few years back, or 5 years back, or the food chain bottlenecks, which came in just behind globalization, right? Now in Guyana, the byword is entrepreneurship. So this is my focus today. Or is it something to do with ExxonMobil's discoveries and the question of local content in Guyana? What about emerging markets around the globe and the multiplication of blacks in the US and in Guyana with CPAs, which are certified public accountants, and many more with MBAs, Masters in Business Administration. Is this another of the reasons for this mushrooming of black businesses? And let me go on to the burgeoning black economy. I'm going to describe that in a minute. Or is it the IMF bogeyman which keeps being the reason, the raison d'etre for the cause of a lot of transformation in the societies like Guyana from time to time? Thank God at the moment we are not IMF bound, but we seem to be bound to be IMF bound once again. I'll come back to that issue as well. And finally, does it have anything to do with remittances, which still remain an important part of our society in terms of how our economy functions and operates. So, let's go right into this black economy, right? The black economy. The black economy is the informal economy, or it used to be called the black market in the old days, where individuals participate in commercial activities without confinement to the rules of the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce. Right? They are not bound by rules, they operate as one person will quote in a moment calls the guerrilla-like entrepreneurship, right? Like gorillas in the city. And black entrepreneurs are individuals of Afro-Guyanese descent who are involved in commercial enterprises, whether formal or informal. As we said, Mr. Edison Jeffrey, he started out as a very small entrepreneur. Now he is the executive director of GCCI, right? So both in the formal and informal economies, we have black entrepreneurs. To a large extent, however, they are limited to the informal or the black economy. So black entrepreneurs are predominantly in the black economy. Okay? Just one more point before we go on. Government policy for the black economy and small business. Okay? Now, I'm going to start with a quotation from an ex-University Guyana professor, Dr. G.K. Dance, and this is what he says. Promoting an entrepreneurship culture in Guyana as a development strategy importantly requires buy-in by government administrators and not only lip service articulation by political leaders. This statement by Professor Downs in 2017 in an article in the Guyana Chronicle is particularly pertinent today, as we see young black businessmen and women striving to launch their own enterprises in our burgeoning oil and gas economy. Another Guyanese professor of economics, Dr. Clive Thomas, in a paper titled Macroeconomic Planning and the Heads of Small Business Sector, noted that the development of small businesses has been closely linked to the black or informal economy. Therefore, negative perceptions regarding this sector have developed. Consequently, he says, a clear strategic policy relating to small business enterprises has been absent for a long time. It still is absent. Professor Thomas posited that the inability of large-scale state-owned mega projects and big business to promote or run growth and the explosion of vulnerable groups under the IMF-imposed economic recovery program of the late 1980s left a gap, and this gap was filled by these small enterprises, mostly by Afro-Guyanese. Okay?
5 minutes left.
Could you want to have seconds? Another one? Can you change that? Okay. Alright, so this slide looks at the range of enterprises that are predominantly, if you want to call them, black entrepreneurs. We have the hawkers, and we have the hucksters. I've made a definition from them. Hawkers would be those who stand or walk around, but they shout out their merchandise and what they are selling and so on. Whereas there are those who are the barrow boys who walk around pushing around their businesses. So we have the barrow boys, and in one of my references, it's from an English lord, current lord in the House of Lords in England. He's Geoffrey Archer. He's written a book called As the Crow Flies. This book is very important. He wrote it in 1998, and it's all about a barrow boy who started out working with his uncle, who was the main barrow boy in part of East London, which is a very low-income area. But that business developed and was eventually passed on from the uncle to the nephew, and the nephew became the owner of one of London's huge department stores. So it showed development right through. Okay? So barrow boys are like that. We have them all over Georgetown. And then we have in the bottom right hand corner the black businessmen, many of whom we see in their suits in this document, which you've seen already. Okay? So this is the range, and I put in the middle at the top, of course, the Stabrook Market. This is the center point of our central business district in Georgetown. Surrounding them, streets on all sides, Water Street, America Street, Pink Street, and so on, High Street, Avenue of the Republic, where lots of these types of entrepreneurs and more are visible. They occupy swaths of the pavement all around this central business district in the Stabrook Market region. Right? So, could we go to the right? So this is the central business district of Georgetown, where we've seen the yellow circles are where the concentration of black businesses are. I've put in blue, as you can see very clearly, these blue lines are where most of the businesses along the central business district are. But these in blue are occupied mostly by Indian business owners to a very large extent. But if you look very closely, at the edge of them there is a strip of black, because outside on the pavements of these very Indian, mostly Indian businesses are where the black enterprises, the small businesses, are concentrated. So we can see the intermingling, not only physically, but in terms of the ethnicity of the issue right there in our central business district. So the Indian shopkeepers have managed to allow businesses to occupy spaces right in front of their front doors. And these businesses are 99% black businesses, small, tiny businesses sometimes spread out. Right? So looking carefully at this diagram, this is the most important diagram of the central business district of Georgetown, with the blue showing where the Indian businesses are spread out, variety stores, even department stores, very big general stores like Guyana.at and so on. But outside of them are small businesses that we've talked about. Hucksters, hawkers, barrow boys, and others. right? So this concentration in Georgetown around the Starbuck market area, which is right on the left extreme, is where the Starbuck market is. This is the reality of black entrepreneurs in Georgetown. Okay, so let me go to a certain part here. A survey of black-owned businesses in the USA in 2021 showed that this is the important point now, the issues of the black entrepreneurs in Georgetown and elsewhere. A survey conducted by Forbes, right, in a book called Forbes Culture, right? So it's Forbes magazine, right? Forbes Culture. This survey was conducted in the USA in 2021, and it showed that 39% of the BOBs, black-owned businesses, say that they are discouraged from applying for loans. In this section of the paper, I call it Black Business Enterprises and Survival. The issue is about survival. Just 1% of BOB owners actually obtained a business loan in the first year of operation. Just 1%. And the average start-up capital loans for blacks in the USA is just $35,205, right? The average start-up money, seed money as we call it, given to blacks in America is just $35,000 to start up a business. That's for blacks. BOBs receive less business financing, less often, and at higher rates of interest. Right? And this is a quotation directly from Forbes, and the name of the article was State of Black Entrepreneurship 2021 by Forbes Culture, took directly from that. Whereas in Canada, there is a Black Entrepreneur Program, BEP, which is a partnership between the Government of Canada, Black-led businesses, business organizations, and financial institutions. It will provide loans of up to 250,000 Canadian dollars. Vast difference. 250,000 Canadian dollars to black business owners and entrepreneurs for innovation, science, and economic development. The loan funding agency known as FACE, which is the Federation for African Canadian Economics, administers these loans, and it is administered with the help of black organizations. Okay. According to the Black Entrepreneurs Association of Guyana, there are, as I said, 300 black entrepreneurs registered officially for Guyana. I'm going to jump from that. I have categorized black entrepreneurs in Georgetown into 5 broad categories. Within each class, there are upper and lower limits. The first class would be the upper level or businessman, right? And the guy we saw in the suit, right? He would be at the uppermost level. The guys who appear in this, right? These would be at the upper level. Who are real estate, hotel and restaurant management, farming and mining, and so on. These top tier type of entrepreneurs. The next group would be those with a fixed business establishment. They are much smaller, but they have a fixed shop. They have a blackman shop, as I call it, a place where they function from, which is their own. Right? Be it a stall, it could be a stall in the market. There are not many in the markets nowadays. I had a section on that. I don't think I have time to go to maybe in question. Right? So there was a stall. There are few stall holders now in the Starbuck market. There are more of them in the border market. but the numbers in both markets the numbers have diminished significantly, right? So there are very few stallholders, which is why these more itinerant businessmen have mushroomed. The third class would be those with bright ideas. They come up with idea and they open a little business, not always flourishing for very long. But there are things like fashion boutiques which are very popular. Many of them are building contractors. They are original carpenters who have become more sophisticated and they have gone into the business of contracting people, having little business cards and advertising on the internet and so on, right? Some thriving food shops, small taxi services, mechanical shops and so on. These are the third group, sorry. And the next are the general hawkers, right? As we said, they have little stalls from which they sell a variety of products, okay? Good. So, do we have another slide? Okay, let's start with this one. There are three important priority areas for black entrepreneurs. Okay? As we said, the question of survival is crucial. And one of the necessities for survival is financing. Right? Financing we'll come to in a minute. But the three areas that I've identified that are principal areas that need concentration are: one, proper and wide-ranging planning of all aspects of the operation. Many of them go into the operation without planning long-term and widespread, and they encounter challenges that some of them are forced to close shop in a short period of time. Okay? The second one is consultation. Consultation could be from manuals and so on. In the case of Brazil, I worked in Brazil, small businesses, what you call micro individual businesses, these have access to these manuals, 10 group of manuals which give them how to develop this, how to develop your market, how to develop your sales, how to develop your product, how to develop your market research, and all of these areas. Okay? And nowadays, on the internet, even in Guyana, we have access to a range of packages of software to assist young entrepreneurs. Okay? Of course, those at the bottom tier, the hucksters and hawkers, they won't be able to make use of those. But those in between, those who are with their MBAs and who are starting up their businesses around Regent Street and so on, they might benefit from consulting more on these internet software packages. And finally, the sound financial management, which is the business of dealing with the money part, dealing with what comes in and how you spend it, what you have, right? The question of the cash flow, which I focus here on. Cash flow is the principal area of focus of any business. If you're not doing your bookkeeping, if you're not looking at your checks and how much you're spending as opposed to how much is coming in, you're going to run into problems. So my humble advice is to get a good accountant. Now this is 3 more minutes again, Guyana here. Okay, I go on to some lessons. Right, so these are the issues of survival, and here, these are 7 types of entrepreneurs that one of my sources gave me. They are different types, you can have a look at it. But just move on to the next slide. Okay, these are the 3 priority areas that I've talked about. Satisfying, force your employees and then your customers, and then coming back to your cost again, right? The cash flow business, the cost area. All right? Next slide, please. Is what I'm going to conclude with. What are some of the, okay, so this is another example showing the cash flow and focusing a lot on it. For survival, the cash flow is the important issue here. How much is coming in as opposed to your expenses in all areas. Okay, so lessons from the old folks. We learned from small level the idea that business is business, but there are many other issues involved with business. These are some of the very popular things we grew up hearing and learning from the old folks. I want to focus on the last two. The firm's fundamental competitive strength comes from the full utilization of knowledge in the entire organization. In other words, you don't just go ahead and think you know the business because you know how to fix something or you know how to process something. You have got to bring all the knowledge together, even from your employees, and work together, right? It's a complete utilization of knowledge in the process. Somebody might be strong on the financial side, you might be strong on the technical side, somebody else is strong on the internet side, the technology side, and so on. But when you come together, this is how a business can do well. And especially for the new businesses, this is the focus. And the last one, you can't build a business based on plans which contradict your own values and beliefs. Many people get into business and then suddenly realize that they're dealing with what? They're dealing with selling, and they're selling alcohol and they're selling cigarettes. And this goes against even their church background. You can't do that. You are not fully into it, right? But it goes for any other area, right? If you're getting into a disco, you're opening a disco, and then in the disco you have certainly in your area, you have a whole set of people of the LGBT, and so coming in. And you are against that. And then you're going to do half your clientele is LGBT. Or you will close down your business. So you can't think of a business unless you're going to think of the business. If it contradicts with your value, you can't get into that type of business because the people are out there, okay? You have to think of the clients, but you cannot not go into it thinking of your own values or compromising with your own values, which you have not thought of completely, okay? So those are the points of the old folks. And lastly, I want to focus on the lessons of the village movement. Let me go on to the next one. Yes. Right, this is the last minute. This is the last minute. Right, this is the last minute. Right? Here we have the village movement, which was talked about yesterday and so on, which is the foundation of all business in Guyana, right? And the foundation of all economic survival of especially the Afro-Guyanese, because after emancipation we didn't get any money, any reparations, any help with financing or anything. Donkey.
No, they didn't get the donkey.
It was promised, but in Ghana they weren't even promised anything in the Caribbean, right? So they weren't given anything at all, right? So they were just left there, right? So if we look at the focus in the middle, I've put it in 4 parts. Because they put their coins, they buried it in the ground, and they dug it up and put it in a wheelbarrow and walked 29 kilometers to Georgetown, pushing that, and this is how they managed to buy Victoria Village. Literally, with money that they dug up from the ground that they had hidden and built up over years. So it's a question of unity, right? And the question of focus. Right? So we learn things from the village movement, And if we can apply these things back into our entrepreneurship nowadays, it might gain more success. Many of them feel that, oh, we can open the business, we don't need help, we don't need box hand. Right? I focused a lot on the box hand in the beginning of the paper. I didn't read the section on box hand. The box hand was where 6 Guyanese would get together and still do. And they join hands, and that way they have a self-financing system without a bank, without an insurance company and so on. And that developed the first businesses of yesteryear. Some of these businesses still exist in southern Georgia after 60 years. They started with box, hand coming together and saving money and opening a business. And some of these new entrepreneurship need to go back to some of these old lessons of unifying, of focus. So that is it. I'll stop here. Any questions, anything?
Thank you. So we have time for a couple of questions. Start.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do we pass the microphone?
I'm okay. I
But the people on live aren't here.
These are just provoking thought questions. I know at one time in Guyana you had the Agri Bank, you had the Mortgage Finance Bank, you had several other banks, right? You had the Core Bank. What banks are available to black businessmen today in Guyana?
Very good question. Very good question. There is the IED, right? The Institute of Private Enterprise Development, right? That institute was established in 1986. It still functions, and it's supposed to give money to small businesses to help with financing, with technology, and some of these things. What has happened is what I mentioned that like Thomas said, access to this. Because depending on if you're a hawker or a huckster or a very small business, you already have a stigma attached to your condition. And approaching IPED is difficult to get access to a loan, right? So this is one of the big issues, right? The BEA, which I said was established, the Black Entrepreneurship Association, was established only in 2020, and it now has 300 members. 2 days ago, I walked into 3 businesses on Cumming Street, not right in the center of the business, but these are burgeoning black businesses. One is a restaurant, bar, that's functioning on Cumming Street. There's the other one is an import-export business, right? Blacks in this, right? And the other one is, well, it's guest house, hotel, bar, and combination, right? And these are all on Cumming Street, right? They are just 3 of the only 8 businesses that are black on that street. But those 3 that I went into just 2 days ago, they have never heard of the BEA. Just imagine. And these are not tiny businesses. These are fairly big businesses, right? So the question of getting the word around, the question of union, and getting the word around is very fundamental. But this BEA, one of its objectives is to provide funding for just exactly these small business enterprises.
Any other questions?
There was another
There's one here. Can we
Just-
pass?
Okay.
Okay, very quickly because we don't have much time.
Right, so in our initial presentation and inauguration, which was not yesterday or Thursday, the guy spoke on cooperative, and he did mention the denouement of the cooperative in Guyana and how that has sort of acted as a dagger in the survival of the black businesses in Georgetown. With the denouement of the cooperative movement came many failures of black businesses, and that's a reality.
It's out of power. Now, I hope that I'll speak my regular voice now. I hope that from your proposal or your presentation, for those who are living overseas and those who are online and here, will use your presentation in terms of inspiring them, to set up banks, black banks, because blacks don't have any opportunity of finance in Guyana. 1, 2, businesses in the building trades, building construction materials. I mean, that's an opportunity that you can make a lot of money if you know to manage your business. It has about 300 to 400% return. I know about it, right? So, and we know there was a co-op bank. There's no co-op bank in Guyana. And as a matter of fact, as far as I know, there's no bank that is owned by what? African American and Guyanese, right? And I'm just saying this based on some of my research, right, that I did, and there are some other things that I know. That is why I'm throwing it out open. I cannot do it, but you guys, you know, can do it, right?
Like your paper yesterday, my paper too would be part of a publication that comes out of this conference, and hopefully people will be able to read the full document, which time didn't permit today, right? So I take your point because, as I said, I focus on the survival of black entrepreneurship in Ghana. It is mushrooming. It has a long way to go. It needs a lot of things. So I tried to point at some lessons from the old folks. I have a section on the black businesses of yesteryear and how they survived. Some of them until today. I didn't read it. It is here. And the issues that deal with financing, I've focused on that. And obviously, the need for a good accountant, which I managed to read the section on getting a good accountant.
Want to go to the next questions now?
Yeah, sure.
Because otherwise we won't
Next
have
question.
time for them all. Next question. Just right here and then.
I had a main question, but I got to only go down to 1 or 2.
Okay.
The first one is, and you would know this, because I'm brought up as a young guy, a young African person in Guyana, and the notion always hit you that black people can't run business. So what's your views on it, based on the research you have done? And I thought, you know, just briefly bring me a little historic stuff into the present day, in terms of the notion that black people can't run business.
Okay, that is a quick phrase that is used very often in, let's call it, lower tier political diatribes, especially around election times or pre-election times. As we know, our politics is racially or ethnically bifurcated. Okay? So this script is usually pointed at black people in the context of managing anything. Right? So, as you said, as George said, it comes like this. Black man can't run anything. He can't even run a cake shop. Much less a country. How can you run Guyana? Right? So this is the context in which it is always put. Right? I put that even in my proposal from the paper. I've sort of shifted in my actual writing of the paper to focus more on the financial aspect, but it originated from this conceptualization, which I examine in various ways, and from what I've seen on the ground, being practiced by many small black entrepreneurs and budding entrepreneurs. The initial quip is not so far wrong in the actuality, okay? But why is that? What is wrong? Is it an innate distancing from entrepreneurial know-how, the entrepreneurial mindset? No. It is just that many other issues that have been talked about over these past 2 days impinge on the success of black business survival. What I focused on in one section of my paper are some businesses which have survived as proof against this script. We talk about Lycan and Maryland funeral charges. Okay? We talk about Brother Jimmy in the border market, a stall owner who has been there before I was born because he was my neighbor, I know, and the business is still there. He died more than 30 years ago. His business is still there, Guyana.at. His nephew, who used to work with him, has his own business, Romel, next door. Right? But our business is still there. Right?
Should we go to the next question?
Okay? So there are evidences contrary against this script. But as I said, there are a lot of practices that give justification for this statement, largely from the Indian community. Okay, Mark.
Two things. First, I think you should check on the recent research. What I've seen is an advertisement for a new director, new executive director in the GCCI.
Yeah, I think you gave me
Let
that
him
one.
finish.
I read that at the beginning of the
No, he has been replaced.
He has been replaced already.
Almost, well, his position is now advertised. I saw it in the newspaper 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So you have to check on that.
So, yeah, because it was just 3 weeks ago.
Wait, we need the whole question.
Secondly, 2 nights ago we heard of the need for cooperatives to re-emerge based on the local content. And we see where small Chinese businesses may have the opportunity to form consortia or cooperatives. So what would be your position in relation to small black-owned enterprises coalescing into cooperatives to move into areas of local content in the oil and gas sector, which is
In the paper, I mentioned the issue of local content and the problems all very entrepreneurs, especially the Indian ones, which are doing much better, have with the current local content policy. Right? As I said, there was a delay in its formulation, and its actual design has not pleased many of our local entrepreneurs. There is a regular comment, especially in the cultural news, on criticism of the local content, whereby foreign investors are being more favored by our government in terms of local content disbursement and so on, funding. Right? So the local content policy in existence is that. What he said in the paper is that imagine if this is happening with the Indian entrepreneurs what is happening to these small black businesses way down at the bottom in terms of their access to all through the local content policy, right? So the idea coming from Mexico is a good one, but in practice of coming together, it goes back to my point of unity, which is a point from the village movement. They need, the black business, they need to come together to form co-ops, as you call it, whatever, to be able to articulate themselves and to inject themselves into the local content policy and into the general government policy, which, like Thomas put it, way back in 1998, is largely absent from our reality. So, because of stigmatization, etc., blacks and small businesses, small enterprises have traditionally been kept out. And in the current situation with ExxonMobil and the local content issue, they're still far, far out up to now.
Is there a comment from the online people? I can see a little red box on the.
I can't read it.
I don't know if there's people doing that. You can just check. I don't know if it's a question for the speaker or if it's just something. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's a question. Are there any more questions?
A quick, just to box off for Brathwaite. Because I don't want it to go here. Because and this is just based on my reading from the press with many conferences in the oil and gas sector. And based on that, my view is the black entrepreneurship is zero or absent in the emerging oil and gas economy in Guyana currently. Based on your experience, research work, some quick pointers you could show to, like say I'm a black entrepreneur, like just say, to help me to get into that. Not necessarily be at the table, but I want to enter that role.
Okay, remember,
Just
in
a
terms
couple
of,
of minutes.
okay, in terms of local content, let's take the bottom level where most of the black entrepreneurs are. There is a question of food supply at various levels. The question of accommodation is a little bit above because that is the level of owning houses and providing accommodation on temporary or long-term basis. And in many of those cases, that market is a little bit above a lot of the blacks. But it's not that they do not have land, but it's an area they can get into. Constructing of accommodations that might attract. Because what local content is getting business from the big business of oil. And with the coming in of foreigners into the country, foreigners have needs for accommodation, they have needs for food, they have needs for entertainment, and in these areas. The only of these three that I know already blacks are involved in is the area of entertainment, right? Nightlife, and so on, right? So blacks have, those who have had some money have gone into the entertainment business, and they have many bars and night spots around town. And foreigners who come, they're young, they want to go around, they want to party, they want to have a drink, and they go to where people are or where the spots are, right? So this is an area they can get into more often than not. And some of them are getting into that. But the area of food is a big one. Black people are involved a lot in food at lower tiers. But they can get into it in terms of catering for events, for hotels, for special groups of population, because these people work and live and they have all sorts of organizations and activities around town. So catering is one which is an area that black people can do and have been doing, but can do more. My point is, if you're thinking of getting on to serving the foreigners that are coming, you have to up the quality and up the consistency and up your display and a lot of other things which deal with financing and planning and projecting. Okay?
Thank you very much.